today's webinar. We will start in a couple of minutes. So let's get started. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Lefteris, and on behalf of the Department of Health Sciences at the University of Nicosia and the DL Master in Drug Regulatory Affairs, I would like to welcome you in this evening seminar. Everyone realizes that artificial intelligence is transforming all professions, and regulatory affairs cannot be an exception. At the University of Nicosia, the Department of Health Sciences, and the Master in Drug Regulatory Affairs, we give great emphasis on the current and emerging developments and how they can shape future scientists and regulatory affairs professionals in particular. Our master degree in drug regulatory affairs aims to educate individuals on regulatory affairs as we know it, but we also adapt to the rapidly changing environment. In this regard, we have organized this webinar entitled AI-Powered Healthcare Innovation, Driving Real-World Impact and Advancing Pharmacovigilance, which is comprised of two complementary short presentations to briefly see how AI can shape the regulatory affairs environment and healthcare innovation. So it is a great pleasure to have with us tonight Dr. Dimitris Zabatis and Dr. Evi Mefoshi, who will deliver these specialized presentations. Just a brief introduction. Dr. Zabatis is an adjunct faculty member in our Master in Drug Regulatory Affairs and Director of Product Patient Safety at Sandoz International, and will present how AI can shape pharmacovigilance and product safety. Dr. Evi Mefoshi is our research collaborator and CEO and founder of Innovethos, a healthcare consulting company, and will give us a different perspective of how AI can be used in healthcare innovation. So without saying anything more, I would like to first invite Dimitris to share his slides and start the presentation. At the end of the two presentations, we can have an open discussion on any questions you may have based on the presentations or anything that our presenters can actually answer any questions you may have. So Dimitri, please share your slides.
Yeah, give me one sec. Let me know when you can see it.
Yes, just put it in full mode. Excellent.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's begin. First of all, thank you very much for joining this webinar. I don't need to do an introduction again because Lefteris did it already. I will be discussing and talking today about the artificial intelligence use in pharmacovigilance. I don't know how many of you are aware of pharmacovigilance and what we do. Just very briefly, we are responsible within a pharmaceutical company for all potential risks that the use of our medicinal products may have for the patients. Very, very, very high level. And let's start about, we will start about the importance of pharmacovigilance. So based on scientific literature, even though it is 25 years ago, it is the same actually even today. Most, as you see here, 5 or 7% of hospitalizations all around the world are adverse drug related. That means that 5 or 7% of admissions of patients into a hospital, it's because they took a drug and they ended up being hospitalized. Also, the numbers, at least in the USA, didn't change even now. We have more than 100,000 fatalities, deaths annually in the USA because of adverse drug reactions. Also, the global adverse drug event related mortality per 100,000 population increased almost threefold from 2001 to 2019. And as I said, the main task of pharmacovigilance is to protect patients, support the regulatory actions, and to maintain, of course, the public trust. And in order to understand how important it is also in financial terms, only in the UK, it costs the ADR treatment and the hospitalization, it costs to the national health system of the UK more than £2 billion. The main pharmacovigilance workflows, the main things that we perform and activities we perform within a pharmaceutical company and within pharmacovigilance is case intake, the so-called cases. You know, when someone has an ADR, an adverse event, when you take a drug, you have the yellow card scheme, you have in Greece off, where you can go to the authorities or to the company and say what happened to you when you took the drug. Then we have the data management of all this data that we gather from the different sources. We perform the so-called signal detection, which, to put it plainly, is we are trying to play the detective. We go through all this data and we are trying to identify any potential new risks that we don't know anything about them, or information about already known risks for the product and the patients. Then we need to do a risk evaluation when we detect the signals, and then we do need to perform risk management and communication. Risk management, it means how we are going to mitigate the risk that we have identified through our processes. The current challenges that we have with traditional pharmacovigilance, the most important challenge that we have is underreporting. What does that mean? It means that we collect all over the world only 10% of the real number of adverse drug reactions that they happen. And with this 10%, we are trying to identify the risks for the patients. This is a real challenge that we still have, and we are trying, of course, to tackle it by using artificial intelligence, as I will show you. Also, we have manual processing delays. You can understand, if you are a big company having thousands of cases coming in, you really can't have people doing it manually. It takes a lot of time and effort. We also have the challenge of fragmented global data, which means data are gathered from different sources and different authorities, and we don't have consistency between this data. And of course, all these challenges, they go to the slow signal detection, which means we detect signals not on time, which this means that we have the patients at risk. And everything starts with the underreporting. So what is exactly artificial intelligence? We all hear all the time artificial intelligence, and it's a big hype the last couple of years. Just to make here just an asterisk, we don't actually have any kind of artificial intelligence. What we have is generative artificial intelligence. Generative artificial intelligence, it means the system gives you as an output what you feed them. They can't think on their own. They can't think any solution on their own, because this is what we mean artificial intelligence. So at the moment, we still have generative artificial intelligence. The best example is ChatGPT and DeepSeek. But we also, within the pharmaceutical sector, we have also some other terminologies there. First of all, we have the big umbrella of artificial intelligence, which means it is a computer that has the ability to perform tasks that normally they are being done by humans, and that includes machine learning. Machine learning, as you see, it's a subcategory of artificial intelligence. Also belongs to the AI, and here we refer to different techniques that enable machines to perform better tasks, and they get better and better while we feed them more and more data. This is actually, as I said, how ChatGPT and DeepSeek they are working at the moment. And not only this, any kind of AI machine. Deep learning also, it's another type of artificial intelligence subcategory. We have neural networks, which we are talking about. Imagine like the neural networks we have in our brain. Imagine this with a lot of computers being connected together, and they are working actually like a human brain. And we also use the natural language processing, which is a system that can identify speech recognition, text, and also depends on the algorithms that you give to the system. So all this here belong to the big umbrella of artificial intelligence. So how exactly AI is reshaping pharmacovigilance within the pharmaceutical industry? By using AI now, we are ready to use, and we are already using it, actually, big data mining. What does that mean? It means that we can go into big safety databases, big electronic health records databases with millions of cases, and you can just apply artificial intelligence, and in a few moments or in a very short time you can have the outcome you want. You can also apply NLP for the adverse drug reaction reports. All the reports that the company has, they go through automation and AI. The system can identify the ADR reports. It can also write narratives, what happened, and it can also tell you where it needs to be reported in a very short time. We can also do predictive analytics using all this different data. And of course, it led already to the automation of the case intake and processing. We have actually a reduction almost 30% of costs and time to all pharmaceutical companies that they have implemented automation. As you can see on the left side, how the AI is reshaping. We have, as I said, cost savings, number one actually, and not number five. Also improved employee productivity because you can do actually other tasks than only this manual case intake. And of course, there are also improvements in the whole drug safety and the benefit risk profile of the product by using artificial intelligence.
Dimitri, if I
Yeah.
may interrupt you, yeah, your slides were stuck for a second.
Which one you are looking now?
Now it's the real world applications and case studies.
Okay, this one I will be discussing, but thanks for bringing it up because I can't see. Okay, good. So the real world applications and case studies, I have brought some case studies in order to understand how we do it actually in real life. Here is just a general approach, how we really can use it in different applications in safety. Also very important here is about the social listening. Social listening means that every pharmaceutical company needs to go into Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and try to understand if there is an adverse drug reaction, and to do actually all this signal detection and risk management that we were saying. Also, as we said, improves productivity, improves also the observability and automation in our safety databases and the regulatory systems that we are using. And also in clinical development, it supports clinical trial efficiency and effectiveness. And as I said, above all, it reduces costs and time for the personnel to perform these tasks. And as I said, I have just brought only 4 case studies. There are a lot of case studies out there for companies using AI. So in case study 1, I don't give the names because of, not that they are not known, but I'm not giving the names of the companies. You may be able to see which they are. So during COVID-19 pandemic. The company had the task how they can do the vaccine AAE trials. It means all these cases that they had coming in, the big influx of cases, they had to implement AI in order to do the trials, which one goes first, which one goes at the end. This is what we say triage, it means. And they have applied the technology of the Amazon Comprehend Medical. This is an NLP, natural language processing. The outcome for this company was that they could perform the case processing 25% faster, which is a huge number, actually. In case study 2, there was another company that had the task. They wanted actually to do data mining, literature mining, using oncology pharmacovigilance literature. They wanted to go into big safety databases like PubMed, and they wanted to identify specific literature for oncology. So they have used the technology of BERT text mining models, and the outcome for this company was that they could actually detect faster any serious adverse drug reaction. BERT, it means bidirectional encoder representations from transformers. If you ask me, I'm not an IT guy. It sounds a little bit Chinese to me, but this is the system they have used. The outcome, as I said, was the faster serious adverse drug reaction detection. In case study 3, we had another company where they had the task to do early signal detection. If you remember, we said signal detection is you're trying, based on all the safety data that you get from the different sources, this fragmented data, to identify any risks for the usage of your product from the patient. They have implemented random forest classifiers, and the outcome for the company was to prioritize rare adverse drug reaction signals, and of course that enhanced the whole drug safety and the benefit risk profile of the product. In case study 4, there was another company that they had the task of automating the global case intake, how many cases received from patients and health authorities. They have used the AWS NLP pipelines, and the outcome for this company was they could do a scalability of the workflow and time savings, time and cost savings. AWS here, as you see, it's a natural language processing, and you can use it to analyze text and extract insights from the literature. So nothing comes without pros and cons, okay? So as I said, we have AI is helping a lot of companies, but we have also some challenges that we need to think about. And the main challenge that we have here is, first of all, data privacy. We have the General Data Protection Regulation in the EU and the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act in the US that they must be taken into consideration every time you want to implement any kind of artificial intelligence, automation, or systems that you want to have in place within your company. Data privacy is really, really important, that any breaches using AI can have really big fines. Also, here is a black box model transparency that we need to talk to, because as I said, no one knows how many data and which data you are giving in, because different companies, different models. So it's like a black box there. We also have model bias and training set quality. Again, this is a challenge because, as I said in the beginning, we have generative AI. That means whatever you give to the system, that will be also your outcome. If the quality of the data and the algorithms you give to the system is not good, then you will not have a good outcome. Everyone knows within the pharmaceutical industry, there is a saying, garbage in, garbage out. So if your data is not of good quality, your outcome, it will be also not of good quality. And of course, you need to be sure that you are trained your personnel correctly so that you can avoid and mitigate this kind of challenge. Another thing is regulatory acceptance. Whichever actually, at least for AI, regulators, they really accept, and actually they are even more advanced than pharmaceutical companies in using AI. And you will see here What I mean, these are the different regulatory perspectives. The main regulators, US, FDA, and European Medicines Agency, EMA in the EU, as also the WHO and the SIOMS, they have already guidelines or EMA reflection paper on the use of artificial intelligence that came out in 2024. FDA now, very recently, they have also implemented AI in order to do decision making for drugs and biological products. The World Health Organization also, they have a guidance in 2025, and SIOMS almost 1 month ago they have also published a draft report about use of artificial intelligence in pharmacovigilance. So as you see at the moment, when it comes to AI, regulators are working very fast to adapt to the new environment and the new reality. Also within the EU in general, not only for pharmaceutical sector, but in general in the EU, we have the EU Artificial Intelligence Act. It should be implemented within the next 36 months. It's already being approved, if I'm not mistaken, and within the next 36 months will need to be implemented, at least for the EU. The future trends now, when it comes what comes next in the future for artificial intelligence and pharmacovigilance, we are going now to the direction of the so-called explainable explainable artificial intelligence. That means that we will have a set of processes and methods that allow us to understand and trust actually the results of the artificial intelligence. That means we are going from the situation where we ask ourselves, I give this into the system, it gives me an outcome, but how did the system do that? Why I got this outcome and not another outcome? When it is a successful outcome, when it is a failure? This is currently where we are, and where we are going with the explainable artificial intelligence is when I ask the system to do something and it delivers an outcome, I know why this outcome came. So imagine, as I said, you have ChatGPT, you ask ChatGPT, but you are not sure at the moment whether the outcome you're getting, and ChatGPT and every other AI tool is doing, they are having a lot of mistakes. But what we are going to have is that, yes, I can trust what the AI machine is telling me, and I can understand why it tells me what it shows, okay? Also, another trend that we will be having, and we are starting to have in PV, pharmacovigilance, is the blockchain. Blockchain actually is nothing new. It is something that it's a cryptography principle that is being used actually in the financial sector in cryptocurrency. This is something that we will be using also to increase security in what we are doing. And another trend that we will have is the real-time adverse event detection networks. So when it comes to conclusions, at the moment, we all see within the pharmaceutical sector that AI is really transforming pharmacovigilance, how we work. They reduce, as I said, of the time that we need to do tasks, also reducing the costs, but also increasing and enhancing the drug safety and the benefit risk activities that we are performing. Also, we need an ethical and transparent deployment of AI. Nothing is being done without having in mind an ethical and transparent deployment. And also in the future, it is a combination of humans and AI collaboration. It's not only humans, and it will not be only AI. You need to combine both in order to get the best outcomes. This is the future in PV. And I will close with the key takeaways. So I wanted to show today very briefly that pharmacovigilance is essential for the drug safety and public health. At the moment, because of the traditional methods, we face challenges like underreporting, delays in our processes, and fragmentation of data. artificial intelligence is really actually a revolution within pharmacovigilance. And now we can work faster, smarter, and we can have more predictive systems. Also, pharma companies, as I said, we are already using AI and we are developing more and more tools, of course, and we will be developing also in the future. And the future of pharmacovigilance, as I said, will be driven by the explainable AI to understand why I get what I get as a result, the blockchain, cryptography, as we said, principles, and the real-time surveillance. And that's it from my side. If I understood correctly, Lefteris, you said that questions will be.
Dimitri, we lost you, I think. I guess you'll come back.
No, I came back, yes.
Here you go.
Yes.
Yeah, if there are any questions from the audience, they can ask now until Evie shares her presentation, or if anyone prefers to ask at the end, that's fine. So, Evie, you may want to share your presentation. I have one question, Dimitri, but I will leave it for the end.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Give me a few minutes. I just want to make sure that you're seeing my presentation and not the presenter note that I will have.
Yeah. Are you in presentation mode, Evie? Yeah, we see your also your whole screen of the computer, maybe, and that basically takes a lot of space from the presentation.
Give me a second. Now?
There you go. Yeah.
Perfect. Give me 1 second.
So Evie will present a different perspective of AI, equally important and closer to the healthcare.
Yes, thank you for the invitation. I hope you can hear me well. I just want to confirm that you can hear me. Yes? Okay, that's great. Just gonna put my video on because that's okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for the invitation, Dimitris. That was a great overview of AI and pharmacovigilance. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach, but at the same time, I will highlight some of the important aspects in that have come out in the regulatory space, which I think at least are exciting to me. And there's absolutely a lot of AI innovation out there. I cannot highlight all of the AI innovation that's happening in this presentation, but I'd be happy to kind of share any specific aspects if you have any questions. I just want to give me a second because the slides are okay. I just want to highlight that when we talk about AI in healthcare, it's not generative AI, because I've been to presentations where a lot of people sit there and they only think that, oh, you know, AI has come to healthcare now. No, AI in healthcare has been for many, many years. And I want to start a little bit just to show a little bit of an overview of what do we have out there. I'm not a specialist in AI in terms of technical skills, but I do. We have used AI in a lot of the companies that I've worked in. So I've worked in interdisciplinary teams. For example, machine learning has been used for many, many years. NLP, there is the vision for about image recognition and machine vision. Some of now that there is a lot of interest in healthcare about speech and how text-to-speech and speech-to-text conversion. And of course, we have the foundation models where some of them are generative AI, they have a bit of an overlap, and we have the generative AI models And basically, this is a little bit of an overview so that you can understand that there is a lot about AI and it's not just ChatGPT or anything along those lines, which are very primitive models. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a historical perspective so that you can understand how back you can go with the term of AI. And it's not going to be long, but I'm just going to point out to this slide that the term AI was first coined in 1956. And some of the first expert systems that have been developed were like decision tools. It was to identify non-organic molecules by analyzing their mass spectra and apply chemistry knowledge. It was in 1965. Then also in 1972, you had one of the first clinical decision-making tools which was for treating blood infections with attempts to diagnose patients based on reported symptoms and medical test results. And they actually used approximately 500 rules. Then we move a little bit to kind of the remote. We have the 1985, we have the robotic dimension of medical AI. In 1984, we've had the Explain, which is the diagnostic capabilities that has been developed by the Computer Science Lab, which is really interesting because recently they have done a comparison with the large LLMs models compared to actually what they have done in 1984, and they have shown very similar capabilities and output. Then we move on to kind of the machine learning revolution in the 1990s. We have kind of some of the initial prototypes for introducing machine learning to analyze electronic health record systems. Then we go a little bit further about kind of the deep learning and medical imaging, where we kind of have early detection and diagnosis, robotic surgery, patient engagement, and the drug discovery process. This is where convolutional neural networks have become a focal point due to their really great ability to recognize patterns in images and computer vision. I've put in a little bit of other points here. In 1992, you have the first application in radiology with detections of microcalcifications in mammography, which was actually one of the first ones. We have IBM Watson, who are very great and really big with their language processing capabilities, especially in oncology. Of course, if you read a little bit deeper, they do like a little bit of the diversity in population, so they're not as big as they say they are. And then actually, in 2020, you have Google DeepMind AI for diabetic retinopathy and breast cancer, and this is actually where they have gone to Asia to actually run a lot of these studies, which is great because they're going a little bit further than kind of the US population. And then now we are in the 2020s where we actually have the emergence of foundation and large language models, where it's very important for medical imaging, genomics, drug discovery, and clinical decision support tools. In 2024, we have kind of the Da Vinci surgical system, which is it's an AI to perform surgical procedures, which has been trained based on watching thousands of hours of actual surgeries. And in 2025, I think you've seen in the news, we have the world's first AI hospital in China, which has 14 AI doctor agents and 4 AI nursing agents diagnosing and treating approximately 10,000 patients in just a few days. I mean, this is just purely for informational purposes. It doesn't necessarily mean that, the AI hospital will become this is the reality. And I just want to point out that the majority of the studies that has been done hand in hand, artificial intelligence with the human in the loop, they're the ones that have the most value. So, and actually you will see downstream that even the regulatory authorities highlight that the importance of keeping the human in the loop as part of this progress. I'm gonna move to kind of just highlight a little bit of the AI value streams in healthcare and the importance. So we find improved diagnosis and prognosis, which is the AI can analyze medical images, and the majority of the AI applications we've seen also as part of the FDA applications and that have received the CE mark are in radiology. You have the improved care coordination. That's a lot about automating administrative tasks, even about voice assistant for clinicians, capturing a lot of the clinicians' notes, anything that is about and coordinates care delivery. We have the personalized treatment plans, which is a lot of AI-powered algorithms can actually tailor the treatment plans, which are a little bit more towards the B2C market, which I think the clinical value really doesn't sit there, but there is willingness to pay for those. So that's something out there. We have enhanced clinical decision support systems for kind of supporting clinicians making informed decisions. This is really important, especially as the oncology field and other fields are moving a little bit too fast with a lot of information coming out from clinical trials. And you have a lot of oncology patients with different mutations that they need to get more targeted therapies. And the last one is preventative and predictive healthcare that aligns a little bit more with precision healthcare that actually uses genetic risk models and clinical genomics to and polygenic risk scores to actually estimate an individual's genetic liability to a trait or a disease. These are actually becoming better and better. I know there's a lot of kits out there, for example, you could use to diagnose if you have specific traits, but not everything is of clinical value. So you have to be really careful of what you get, and prediction of a disease doesn't mean you're going to get a disease. So you have to be really careful of how you interpret the results, especially if you are in the B2C market. Now, AI healthcare actually grew 32 billion in 2024, and it's projected to grow, to 431 billion by 2032, which is actually great, especially for job creations, and you can actually see the interest in the market. These are the latest data that I've received from kind of the Intelligent Healthcare report by KPMG, is that healthcare organizations are actually developing their own AI in-house tools, 85% of organizations, but at the same time, they're also acknowledge that they face operational challenges like legal, lack of skills, and data issues. So you can see that, with great power, it comes great responsibility. The issues exist, so it's kind of important to acknowledge that you need a very good team and a lot of hands-on work to make sure that you don't have any issues. The majority of people who have been interviewed, they do identify, the 62% identify that data quality is a major constraint to progress. And we have heard from Dr. Dimitris that data quality is really important. This is exactly what we're saying in imaging: crap in, crap out. Your quality will determine your algorithm. And of course, as you're rolling out, AI pilots, you have to have an iterative process to actually make sure that your artificial intelligence algorithms will remain, will improve with time. And of course, a lot of them, almost 50%, report challenges with AI skills development and acceptance. So if you're interested to go into the AI space, absolutely great, because we're going to need more and more people in that area. But at the same time, you have to make sure that with AI, you have to learn a lot about the ethical considerations and make sure that you become a really good AI scientist. This is just a little bit of a bit of something that I found quite interesting, although they're from two different independent firms and probably from a different sample size. Within 1 year, it seems that healthcare organizations are showing, between 40 and 72%, they've shown achieved efficiency improvements in solutions. So AI is here to stay. And the expectations of generative AI potential actually from healthcare organizations is going to be the highest in these three spaces. So clinicians productivity. 62% say it's going to be in the patient member engagement and experience, and then even administrative efficiency and effectiveness. The rest of them, it's going to be still in the quality of care, IT infrastructure, and research and education. So I'm going to change a little bit gears, because I've actually talked a little bit about, and also through the timeline, about AI in healthcare, which doesn't mean about at the time where you go to the hospital when you actually need care. Healthcare starts a lot earlier with drug discovery. You need actually a lot of scientists and a lot of work and many years to get a drug into the market. And I'm just going to highlight a little bit of the work that has started in preclinical AI applications and in drug discovery that actually started like almost a decade to 15 years ago compared to what a lot of people are noticing right now. Especially, it's very important in the bioinformatics and multiomics AI, and then the patient-centered AI applications. You can see there is a lot of them out there, but so I'm just going to highlight a couple of these. So in preclinical AI applications, which is very important in drug discovery and development, and we have seen that in almost 15 years, AI is very important in target identification and validation. And it's where AI algorithms can analyze diverse data sets, including genomics, proteomics, and clinical data, to actually identify promising targets. And after having worked in a pharma company in drug discovery, I've noticed that the budgets are actually getting smaller and smaller in preclinical research, and the budgets are increasing for clinical trials. So there is always need to cut down the costs in drug discovery. So that's where that preclinical AI applications have come for. So virtual screening and molecular design, I've put in a couple of companies there that are actually quite big and noticeable in that space, so you can go and find out a little bit more. So we have the virtual screening and molecular design, which uses AI to screen large chemical libraries and identify drug candidates, and also predictive toxicology, which is very important in preclinical drug discovery, where you can go, where scientists use in vitro enzymatic or cell-based assays to identify compounds that actually will not move into animal models, so that they can actually filter them out. Now, in terms of preclinical AI applications, also, these are really important in terms of deconvoluting a lot of results from gene expression profiles, protein interaction networks, metabolic flux analysis. And one of the kind of really great application of AI that we have had and in many years is the histopathology analysis, which is very important because it actually is used a lot in clinical decision making. So it depends a lot on the results, what the patient will receive as treatment. And actually, very recently, EMA has announced, this is one of the first things that have come out, and it's actually really interesting. If you have time, EMA has announced the Path AI qualification, a company from Boston, for using the AIM MASH AI Assist as a tool in their MASH clinical trials. If you do have time to go and read the document, it's a 70-page document. I wouldn't, I've reached up to 40 pages and then I got tired, but it's actually really important because it's one of the first times that we've received a positive opinion about the use of AI in clinical diagnosis. But they have highlighted a couple of times in the document that this tool is supposed to use with the histopathologist and not without it. Okay, well, not without him. It's not supposed to replace, but actually to assist. And they've actually highlighted the sentence a couple of times within the document. So this is exactly to show that this is where we're moving toward. And then I'm just gonna just point out a little bit on the patient-centered AI applications and how they have been used, especially in the US, as you know, the AI field is moving a little bit more, a little bit faster, just because of their regulatory space is a little bit, I think, less strict. But in terms of kind of the three important kind of areas for AI applications is mental health, behavioral health, health education and training, and wearable technology and remote monitoring. Now, with regards to wearable technology and remote monitoring, if you have someone who has diabetes, or if you have someone who has a heart failure, or has a heart condition, there is a lot of studies out there that actually point out that the wearables and remote monitoring can assist in the diagnosis, and it's actually much better than not having it. In the health education and training, especially in the medical space, it's actually quite interesting. There is a platform called Lumedo, which actually has shown that an increased uptake in the procedural knowledge. And then in mental health and behavioral health, of course, there is a big back and forth discussion about whether AI-assisted conversations can help and will actually kind of replace the conventional based treatment, which is psychotherapy. But it seems there was a big study actually done recently about machine learning, and it has shown a big correlation between empathetic counseling and enhanced patient satisfaction through a lot of this text-based counseling. And actually, AI can actually help to enhance the connection between therapists and patients, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will replace them, because you probably have seen in the news that there is a lot of also cases of psychosis and a lot of other adverse events that happen because of AI tools, especially generative tools, are not, are actually can talk up to your fears, and that's not great. So now I'm going to change a little bit gears on what does it take to deliver AI innovation. You're in a healthcare organization, or you're in a startup, and it's actually it's really important to think of patient safety is very critical, and it's all about the evidence. So it's not about radical transformation. And I'm just going to walk you a little bit about the tools and what it takes to do that. Now, the value of AI, we have talked about it a little bit before. It's about rapid data processing and analysis, expert level diagnostic accuracy, scalable cloud-based deployment. It means if you have more than one hospital, you can actually put your AI models or anything on the cloud, and you can work between and that's actually much better between your hospital infrastructures. And then also you have personalized treatment and safer prescribing. It can actually, in this case, I can reduce reliance on trial and error methods. For example, if it's about, treating chronic conditions like hypertension or diabetes, or it's antidepressants that a lot of the times, you have to try in 1 or 2 or 3 antidepressants in order to find out whether it's going to work. So personalized treatment and safer prescribing can actually lead to reducing adverse events and just this kind of trial and error methods. So it's actually, this is where I think we're heading. Sorry, 1 second. So if you are a healthcare organization or a startup, I think the key here is that you have to, your most important asset is not your AI, they're your people. And by people, it means, it's your patients, your healthcare professionals, your staff, your researchers, your engineers, right? And the patient's voice, is very important. The culture that you have in your organization, and the learning and development budget that you give for the people, because we've seen a lot of companies where they are not taking the people with them, but they just go on all about technological innovation, and they actually struggle to adopt those tools and generally. So as you are investing in technological innovation, you also have to invest in people. And surrounding the kind of the second layer that you have to look into it is the implementation frameworks, which is all about, the project management frameworks, your technology infrastructure, APIs that you're going to use to prove your, your AI and your analytics, your data governance. And, the wider circle is all about strategic piloting and scaling, because you're not just going to stay on AI piloting. Your strategy and values and your leadership commitment and AI governance structures. It's very important you have your leadership commitment. And then outside is, of course, basically the circle where you're allowed to innovate. Is your, bias medications and health equity, your regulatory compliance, and about what the outcomes and values you want to realize for your organization. So at the beginning, you have to be very honest about what your current inefficiencies are. For example, if you have, your needs assessment, it has to be around clinical challenges, your operational hurdles, and economic needs. So you need to start with your pain points. You need to identify clear outcome-driven objectives. For example, do you want to reduce last-minute appointment cancellations? Do you want to minimize patient no-shows, reduce radiology queues, whatever it is that you want to do? The next part is basically about implementing the framework methods for your AI projects. The first one is the Agile methodology, which is very important. Surrounded by the Lean Six Sigma and the PDCA cycle are also equally important in your decision making and how you run these projects, the project management around it. And then, of course, your regulatory compliance is going to be ongoing, because regulations will change eventually, and it's not just a discrete step, but you have to involve the regulators constantly. A little bit zooming in the central core process is that you are going to start with your needs assessment. You're going to gather your data and you curate. You're going to have your team where it's going to be responsible for algorithm development. You're going to deploy small pilot testing, review and adapt, and then you're going to have a very small, super user rollout, and then you're going to have a phase 2 to the hospital. Of course, in Europe, you have to be quite careful because you cannot roll out any of it as a patient unless you actually mark it as a CE marked, which is as a medical device. So you have to be quite careful about how you do it, and all the data that you collect is probably going to be needed for the regulators. I'm going to skip this slide because it's a little bit heavy, and just I'm a little bit of kind of worried a little bit of the time. So when you're gonna develop your AI tools for your different for the different projects that you have, you're going to need data, okay? And the importance of data. You can start with a proof of concept, which is at the bottom, which you can test sensitivity and specificity. You can have low numbers or not. But then as you're moving up the chain, like you can start having retrospective controlled evaluations, prospective cohorts, and then research controlled trials. And the higher you move up the chain, the higher the complexity and the research independence, but also the more and the reduction of biases, because you're going to have more diversity in your data. And you have more in the research control arms, you're also going to have more diversity as well. So I think you have to remember that AI's impact needs to be strategic and measurable. You have to remember that if you're doing this in order to support your people in your organization, either that's to reduce the cognitive overload of healthcare professionals, address healthcare professional shortages, reduce operator dependency, and much greater reproducibility, greater health organization workflow, or improve patient safety, you have to make sure that these are measurable and strategic for you. This is just a reminder that a little bit about the AI machine learning enabled medical device list. This is some of the data that I got from the FDA website, which I've put them in a plot. You can see that the majority of the applications are actually radiology applications. And compared to the FDA, we have 144 CE marked AI software in Europe. Also, I just want to point out that also the UK is actually moving ahead, and is has an AI airlock regulatory sandbox for AI. So if there's companies who are interested to actually use and apply, their phase 2 application is now open. It will recruit for candidates. It's actually quite nice if there's people in the audience who are interested in that. Just left a couple of important resources, and I know that, and I just want to point out a little bit that the European Commission has pledged to reduce reporting obligations by 25% for the large companies and 35% for SMEs by 2029. However, the Digital Europe advocates for more ambitious 50%. We know that the regulation is a little bit more strict, and by a little bit, I mean a lot in Europe. So, and I think this is just a slide of remembering to measure impacted outcomes, and these are the dimensions that you can actually use to measure in your AI pilots, and when you're interested to scale. These are the different groups, which is patient outcomes and quality of care, operational efficiency and cost reduction, clinical decision support, accuracy or quality assurance, your user experience, your patient satisfaction, and scalability and adaptability. These are by no means extensive. These are just examples. And I think I just want to kind of summarize here and say that I think we have a quadruple aim with AI is to improve population health, enhance patient and caregiving experiences, reduce costs, and improve clinician well-being. The integration of AI in healthcare is not just about automation. It is about augmenting the human expertise. And it is an interdisciplinarity teamwork. And because they bring together engineers, data scientists, medical professionals, and regulatory experts. And also you need to remember adoption. If you want your hospitals or organizations to adopt these tools, you have to speak to them, communicate to them, understand their fears, and make sure that you have some capacity building coming up. I mean, this is just a slide about the road ahead of healthcare organizations, but I just want to highlight only a couple of them. It's the enhancing the human AI collaboration. which is all about maintaining the human expertise and oversight, and ensure that you have some health literacy policies for the people and the patients, and the capacity building is essential. And also with regards to sustainability, a lot of these generative models, because they're gonna start coming up a lot in healthcare, they're also very energy consuming. And unless we actually see reducing of those these kind of energy demands, it's very unlikely that they will move into the healthcare environment and they will stay. So, you know, it's very important that when we scale, we think about the sustainability. And embracing continuous capacity building and change, which is very important to kind of acknowledge if we are, you know, uncomfortable with the technology, that's okay, it's only human. Even some doctors are uncomfortable with the technology, so we have to actually embrace change by addressing our own discomfort in this space, which is very important. And this is how we're kind of move forward. That's it for me. I just want to point out for the non-specialist audience, or if there's you know, students or even other people who are not technical, this is from Okin, a great company that actually recently has moved into agentic AI in cancer research, which is an excellent tool that I'm actually testing out. And they have made this very creative tool about, you know, a lot of things that you can go and learn, A for algorithm, B for bias, and etc. So it's actually very nice. I would actually advise you to go and have a look. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for the nice presentation. Any questions from the audience? So I have to make one comment, but I'll first leave. Yes, we have a question from Stratia. Maybe, let's see. Just unmute yourself and go ahead.
How can I stop sharing? Oh, give me a second.
Yeah, you can stop sharing. Yeah.
I can't find the stop sharing button. Okay.
Hello, it was not the question that I had. I just wanted to say that I really appreciated the presentation of both speakers with the overview they gave, and all the information from different corners of the world regarding where we are now, and especially as well, it's very important to know the history, the past steps, etc. So that is what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? You know, I noticed that in both presentations that you didn't exclude humans. You actually said, both of you said that humans are important, which is something that probably most of us are not thinking about it. Everyone is afraid that AI will replace humans, but it seems that from your experience and your presentations that humans will always be involved. Will this be the same even when artificial superintelligence will become a reality, or do you think this will change in the future?
Well, if I may, the answer is in between. You know, already some roles, they are already being taken by AI. Yeah? I mean, at least in the pharmaceutical industry, we have positions that they were gone because of AI, especially all these tasks that they are just, you know, the routine tasks, we say, like case intake. Also in the financial sector, I was reading an article that the junior positions, they will not exist anymore because all these tasks, the routine, they can be done by artificial intelligence. So yes, it's in the middle. If what I wanted to say is also that you can't replace human when it comes to other tasks. You know, they are more complex. So all this, what I always say, and what it was also clear again, it's not intelligence. You know, it cannot create anything on its own. If there is no source feeding the system cannot do anything. That's why you will always need the humans, at least at the moment. I mean, if we have any AI like coming from the future, we don't know. But at the moment, if you don't feed the system doesn't know what to give you. So, and all this sometimes we have more automated systems that people believe it is artificial intelligence, and actually the discussions we have between the industry and the vendors, the people that they sell these things, it's always the same. I mean, we always say it's not, we don't look for automated systems. We want systems that they can really help us do the job. So not just automation. Automation is okay. So yeah.
For me, I have to say that first of all, if we reach the point where we're so advanced, I will be dead, and I hope I am. But I think that the key is in the word artificial. Okay, I think technical intelligence, it's a little bit different to what you expect from a human connection and interaction. They lack empathy, and you can see that from a lot of these studies where people need empathy and a lot of other and connections. So I think I don't know if you are someone where if you're looking at the screen, for many hours, and you want to say, oh, I'm done with it. I just want to go for a drink. I want to speak to someone. It's exactly that. You can't. I think as a human, we have to understand our own needs, and that's why there is a lot of hype about technology, that we have to be quite careful and understand our own needs. It's definitely going to become smarter in terms of helping us with a lot of tasks, but I don't think it's going to replace. We're not nowhere near of replacing people. Even people who are developing websites, or AI that develop websites, or a lot of these things, it's security wise is really low. So even the people who are technical right now, they're not worried of their job. So I think we're very far away from especially replacing healthcare professionals. And just want to point out that Bill Gates said healthcare professionals are the last ones who will disappear.
No, that was for us. The biologists, the healthcare professionals, we don't know, but biologists, we will always exist. No. Yeah.
Thank you for your answers. Dimitri, I have another question for you. You mentioned that one of the challenges in pharmacovigilance is under-reporting.
Oh, yes.
I guess AI will never solve this. Is that correct?
No, under-reporting, it cannot be solved with AI, because it cannot touch the source. This is something that only governments can do, and also pharmaceutical companies, as also the authorities. We can sensitize more, the public, because we are all potential patients. We all take medicinal products. If something happens, then you just need to report it. If you don't report it, we will not be able to do anything. Even if we have the best AI tool, if we don't have the data, then what's the purpose? We can't do anything. So yeah, under-reporting will not be solved with AI.
Dimitri, can I ask you with regards to, there's a lot of B2C applications that are, a medical assistant or basically patient assistant applications that, patients can report their symptoms, etc. What do you think about that data and the value in pharmacovigilance?
You want my honest opinion, or
yes, of course,
or my diplomatic one?
No, I want the honest always.
At the moment, it's still garbage.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't say, it doesn't change the whole mentality behind it. A case needs to be medically confirmed. What I can say, I mean, not to be total negative, it helps because we all connected to our mobiles. So if something happens, maybe it's easier, with the interface. If the interface is also easy, then you just tip and you send it. The problem is, then you can have less under-reporting, maybe. But still, it needs to be medically confirmed.
Okay.
And we also need to think, because I go to conferences and I hear all the time about this, and I'm like, but guys, we are still discussing about EU, or US. But even within EU, in Greece, I'm coming also from Greece, but I don't think that my grandfather or even my father would have an Apple, an iPhone, or a Samsung, to tip into we still need to understand also the national healthcare systems, and the population. And because of the products are being consumed from patients that they are above 50 or even 60, it's not about kids 25 years old that they can play around. So it can't help, but for me, I always say easy. Don't overdo it with all this advertisement, because senior management, when they hear all these nice ideas, they always come, oh, let's implement. And another thing, what we were saying, about artificial intelligence and people, I can give you a very good example what we all face. I had a problem today with Lufthansa. I called and they had the chatbot. Yeah, I got pissed within 2 minutes because it couldn't understand, what I'm talking about.
I know.
And then they connected me to the human, to the colleague, there, and immediately within 1 minute I could solve my problem. So we all have this experience. Call centers, they have chatbots. No, sorry. And also, if I remember correctly, one company, one of the top 4, maybe KPMG, I don't remember, maybe some of these top 4, they had laid off 600 people because they have implemented AI. And you know what they are doing now? They are calling everyone back after 1-2 years because AI failed completely. So now they need to go back.
I think these companies who are laying off people because of this, because it's not just KPMG or any other company, because I don't know, but they're doing a big mistake. It's not about that. And I think we have to remember a little bit of, companies are, they're living creatures. They're living because of the people. Otherwise, to be honest, and I would prefer for a company to give money to employees that they can live and they can sustain themselves and their families. It's not about just technological innovation so that you can lay off people. This is completely an unorthodox approach, and I don't think that should be done. But yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from.
Very interesting. One final question for you, Evie, because you are also in the consulting area, and you probably know better the answer than anyone else. What are the cost implications for companies that want to transform their operations using AI? They would probably have to invest a lot, but what is the possibility of failure? When you have just heard that some things are failing, and how do they deal with this?
Look, the culture of innovation is, first of all, you have to embrace failure through learnings, okay? So first of all, a company to be constantly innovating or start to transform, at least, they have to allocate at least 20% of their budget or their profits into innovation, okay? That's not a lot. A lot of the companies don't do that, okay? And there is evidence saying that companies who actually invest 20% of their profit in innovation, they actually do better and they're more competitive, right? The problem is whether the companies are willing to kind of keep a proportion of the profits for that. And I think you have to embrace failure. Start small. You don't have to start and build a whole pilot, depending what company you are, because AI is in a lot of companies. Healthcare organizations, their main purpose is, to provide care. It's not to constantly innovate. So, but you have to have a team that their role is actually to go beyond and apply that innovation. So you slowly pilot, and you see the outcomes, and then you see what's the next step. So it's all about managing expectations. So if you're gonna, if you're a hospital and you're gonna build the next AI solution, it's gonna be quite difficult. But if you're going to be a startup who is going to be that has that flexibility, it's a little bit different, okay? So you have to have a strategy. Of course, the strategy really helps. A lot of companies don't even have a strategy for the next 5 years. So, they kind of say, we're gonna, implement the next AI just because there's AI. but that's not the case. You have to be strategic about it. You say, what do we want to solve? Can we solve it? You know, is our system allowing us to solve it? Because, for example, in Cyprus, we're a small country. A lot of the AI solutions that are developed for the US or Germany that are really big countries, they don't necessarily, the need here. So you have to be careful of where you invest. But it's all about strategy and having like a good team that you don't give blame when something goes wrong, because things will go wrong. You have to embrace failure through learnings and say, what do we do next? You know, how can we pivot, right? And that's all about the culture of innovation.
Thank you, Evie. Any other comments or questions? So thank you again, Evie, Dimitri, and the audience, of course, for listening to the presentations. If it happened and you joined late, you will receive the link for the recording, and you can go back and listen to the excellent presentations by Dimitris and Evie. Laith has a question. Yes, Laith.
Hello, Thierry. How are you?
Good.
Hi, how are you? I just want to add something about drug safety and artificial intelligence, because before the 2 months in the Saudi Arabia, they are using the AI in the public areas, and now I see they say they see it is enhance the patient having problem with the kidney, and they are using many medication. This is and the same solution for digital doctors, like in the presentation. They are now using the same product from China. The name it is Dr. Hua, and now it is a start to using the skin dermatology and I think disease in the lung, and they say the percentage about error, it is 0.3%. They say it is the same percentage for the physician.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laith. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.